It's Covino and Rich for Now or Never with WWE Superstar Mandy Rose. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're great. Thank you for making time for us and giving us some bragging rights. Our friends are freaking out that we're having you on the show because you're that passionate. So I got to ask you, you got 2.4 million followers on social media.
I mean, yeah, it does. It's a lot to handle, but I try my best to stay active with my fans and with all the different platforms that I'm on, you know, besides Instagram, Twitter, you know, and TikTok, my newest one. But yeah, it's just it's hard to stay that active, but you know, I try as best as I can, and I'm super grateful for all of my fans and all the support I've been getting, especially these last couple of months. So it's been awesome.
Wait, so you're on TikTok? Where do we find that? Let's see.
Oh yeah, you didn't know about that? Wow.
Are you into this or what?
Oh yeah, I mean, I started like during the quarantine because I was just bored, to be honest. But then I was like, wow, this is actually a lot of fun. Yeah, I danced my whole life, so I actually find it pretty entertaining for myself. And learning these dances, they're like, it takes me a little while sometimes, but it's pretty fun. Not gonna lie.
Now, you said for the last couple months, you guys at the WWE were one of the first, if not the first, big event without fans. WrestleMania Night 2, you were a big part of that. How was that without fans? Was that a little odd for you?
Yeah, it was definitely weird without fans, you know, especially WWE. We're, you know, so engaged by our fans. We go off of our fans and, you know, the crowd. That interaction, the intimacy, it's awesome that we are so blessed to have the best fans, I think, in all sports, to be honest. But it was definitely weird, you know, getting used to it. And then I think the first couple times it was weird, but you know, as all of us superstars, we have to learn to adapt to the circumstances. And we kind of just, you know, when you're out there, your adrenaline's going still and you still have to perform. And we were lucky and blessed to be able to still perform and put on some good entertainment for our fans still. So, but it was definitely a challenge, I'd say.
You know what, though, Covino, being that WWE is sports entertainment, you know, sports themselves, people are competing, and the fan, you guys, like you said, play off the fans. So there's like the entertainment part of things. It's almost like doing stand-up comedy or doing a performance without a crowd.
Yeah, it was, and it, you know, it still is. It's just it's hard, but I think, like, you know, I think watching it afterwards, especially WrestleMania, which our biggest show of the year, and then, you know, not having fans, but I think overall it worked out, you know, especially some of the cinematic matches, which really helped. And you know, you just have to, it is what it is, right? There's not much else we can do, but it was definitely a challenge. And like walking out of the, you know, curtain with no fans is definitely really weird, but we had to get used to it.
But you pulled it off, and great job. And lucky they didn't have like old school Hogan sort of antics.
I know.
That wouldn't work. Not
yeah,
right.
What would the Hulkster have done? You know.
Right?
But Rob Gronkowski was a big part of the event too. I know you're a fan. How was he embraced, and how do you feel now that he's playing football again?
Yeah, you know, it was awesome. It was really cool to have him host part of, you know, WrestleMania. I think it's such a great idea of involving other sports with WWE, and we are entertainment, sports entertainment. So it was really cool to have him. And now it's even, you know, it's awesome to see that he's gonna be playing again. So, you know, I'm a big football fan. I always have been. So I'm really excited to see him play this year.
And speaking of being a fan, we heard that you grew up admiring Michael Jordan. So I'm wondering what your thoughts were on The Last Dance when you watched it.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, every Sunday when a new episode came, it was like almost like you didn't know what to expect, you know, for everyone, because it was footage that nobody has ever seen before. So I think that was really cool and very interesting just to see behind the scenes of everything. And, you know, being in the sports industry, you know, all the craziness that goes on and, you know, things that come up and you're like, whoa. And then you start to kind of wonder and it starts to make your, you know, wheels turn a little bit. But I mean, Michael Jordan, greatest of all time. I think, you know, most of us can agree with that. And it was just really cool to see, you know, how everything went down back in the day.
Well, so speaking of GOATs, in the world of wrestling, who's your GOAT?
Oof. A tough one. I got to go with The Rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just because all around, I was always a big fan of The Rock. You know, growing up, I actually didn't watch a lot of wrestling, to be honest. And, you know, me and my brothers, we would wrestle, like, you know, in the yard and everything, but I wasn't a huge wrestling fan. So, you know, I have to say, like, because The Rock, you know, ventured out and he's in movies and all that, I started watching more wrestling as I got older. And that's why I'm a big Trish Stratus fan. And I just, you know, it's kind of like later on in life, I started watching like all the greats. And then, you know, Trish Stratus I love and I've always looked up to when I started doing this because we had similar backgrounds and seeing her, you know, fitness side and then kind of, you know, going into the wrestling world and having to prove to people, that's kind of where I kind of stand most of the time. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
We want to talk about your fitness stuff, but I have to ask you, being the youngest sibling, having 3 older brothers, like you said, I'm the oldest, so I know that I tried every wrestling move out on my younger brother and sister. Were you the recipient of suplexes and body slams and everything as a kid?
Yeah, but you know, it's funny, having 3 older brothers, like, and they always joke around about it now today, seeing me on TV, but I used to beat them up. Like, I was always like this, like, tough, like, I was always a little bit, like, bigger boned, so they say, and like, I just kind of, my one brother, Gary, who's over 18 months apart, he was always so skinny and I would like literally just throw him around and we would actually, they would joke around because I would beat them in arm wrestles and then, you know, arm wrestling matches. And then as I got older and I started to get into fitness and then wrestling, they always thought it was so funny because I used to go around beating them up.
As you got older, all of Gary's friends all of a sudden wanted to wrestle you too.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, and those 3 boys gave me, they were so hard on me growing up with their older brothers. They didn't let me talk to anyone. It was like such a struggle.
Well, hold on. Because you go up and you said, you know, wrestling, fitness became a big priority in your life. We're going to talk about that. But we said, we heard that you got this big love of donuts. So can you please that balances out?
Let me get a bite of that. Yeah, so, you know, I grew up in an Italian home. My dad owned restaurants before I was born, and then he owned delis when I was, you know, growing up my whole life. So I've been around really good food my whole life. You know, getting involved in the fitness industry and then, you know, bodybuilding and competing, the transition for me was pretty tough because I grew up eating pasta and fried chicken cutlets and fresh mozzarella and all this stuff. And
I was going to say, a healthy dose of fresh mozzarella like every Sunday.
Right? I know. My dad makes it homemade. So like, I mean, it's the best of the best. And so transitioning from that to, you know, chicken and rice and sweet potatoes and portion control. And it was definitely a struggle, but I loved it because it was a challenge for me. And then, you know, of course, I fell in love with the progression that I was seeing and my body changing and just the way I was feeling mentally. So it was awesome, but it was definitely a struggle. But that's getting back to the donuts is where it all comes into play, is that I've always been a big foodie. I love sweets. I love, you know, all types of food and different cuisines. So I feel like it's all about balance. So I still love to look good and feel good, but at the same time, I still like to go out to dinner, have a few glasses of wine here and there, and kind of just enjoy life, you know, because you have to enjoy it. So life's all about balance.
All right, so when you're loaded up on the carbs and you had your cheat meal, it's time to get back into shape because it's all about balance, like you said. So let's talk about the app, Fit with Mandy. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so this app, Fit with Mandy, it's basically a 12-week at-home program designed for all different skill levels, males, females, of all ages. It's super easy to follow and it requires no equipment, which is great too. And you can do it anywhere. So I actually designed it like a year ago, but with everything going on, this latest, you know, the pandemic, it actually was really helpful to a lot of people because a lot of people couldn't get to the gym and couldn't get to, you know, have their own equipment and stuff like that. So it's a great program. It's a lot of like high intensity interval training, you know, get your heart rate up, good resistance training, and it works. It's great. I mean, I love it. And I've been getting some really good feedback from others.